Let me ask you this. This is a totally different subject because I'm sitting there watching this NASCAR and I've had this conversation with multiple people. NASCAR drivers, athletes or no?
Yes, this is why. Now, I define an athlete by a cat that looks decent shooting a jumper, that has a natural golf swing, that can bowl a strike, that can throw a football, that can get on the bench and hit 225. Like, I look at a guy and define him as that. Like, I could do all those things. I know
I agree with all that.
Pat McAfee, you could tell Pat McAfee when he was a kicker in the NFL, but you could tell he could do all those things I just mentioned.
Agreed.
And people don't know. Some guys get out and be a stiff, horrible-looking golf club. Like, these are, like, they're good as an O lineman, but then are nothing else, right? Or whatever you want to – anyone like that. I define athletes that way that can play anything, even like shoot some pool or, you know, anything, any sport they're good at. I think that's the great athlete. So this is why I say this. I've got to know some NASCAR drivers. From what they have told me and what I've heard, is they are literally, they do not recover in between races because of how bad their body gets beat up from race to race. They never recover fully. Kind of like football. We don't get the soreness out for 3-4 days.
Right.
They don't ever get it out between races.
Right.
Like, they get banged up. It is a collision sport. So football and NASCAR were the only two, by definition, collision sports in the world. Hockey, basketball, and baseball considered contact.
Right.
So football no longer is collision, in my opinion. What's your take on it?
I'm with you on that. So my take is, if you're going to call race car drivers athletes, tell me the athletic movement they're performing while doing their sport.
Gas, clutch, brake, shift.
That's not an athletic movement. I mean, look, let's be honest. You've got 16-year-old kids on the street right now doing it. I mean, highly skilled, great hand-eye coordination, balls, fearlessness, toughness, have to be in some sort of physical shape to go through the entire NASCAR season, right? And circuit. All of that. What's the athletic movement of turning left? Again, if they're athletes, fighter pilots are the greatest athletes who ever lived, because they're going whatever they're going, one little mistake, one little turn of that yoke, and you're dead.
Hey, it's a good conversation, dog.
So listen, I respect what they do, even more so by watching it and live, and IndyCar even more so, man, because, you know, they got to make one move on a pebble on that thing. They going flying, right? Athletes, though, come on, bro. We know what athletes are. You know what athletes are.
Is a baseball pitcher an athlete?
Absolutely. That's an athletic movement. No question. Hockey, baseball.
I don't know. We got some fat, sloppy motherfuckers out there that can't even get off the mound.
No doubt. Jerome Bettis did not have the greatest body in the world, but he can tote that rock, right?
Like Leon Lett probably might have been the greatest athlete I've ever seen in my life.
You need to see Warren Sapp then.
Warren Sapp, Leon Lett. When my boy was on that Cowboy team and told me that Leon Lett used to beat Dion in the first 10 yards out of a gate on a 40, I was like, what? They're like, dog, I'm telling you, Leon Lett's a fucking freak.
Wow.
You played against him, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. He was towards the end of his career, but yeah.
I mean, what he did on those teams, I mean, I could see it. We've seen some freaks of nature, obviously, but
without having great bodies.
I think you could. To me, throwing the ball hard or even controlling it, it's one movement similar to me, you got to move clutch, gas, brake, shift. That's 4 things, plus stay focused mentally and take the rigor of getting banged all day on 500 miles. I don't know, dog. That's really close, a pitcher and a NASCAR guy.
Who's doing the work in that NASCAR race, the driver or the freaking car?
Well, both if you pop that engine. Stop
that. Listen, the pitcher, it's his power, it's his technique, it's his movement that's making that ball go from 0 to 100. In NASCAR, it's the combustion engine underneath that hood that's making it go from 0 to 100.
Yes, it is. A golfer.
Same. That's an athletic movement, bro. That ball sitting there at 0. That's an athletic movement, and you're walking throughout. There's a reason why they don't ride in a cart. That is an athletic movement. Are there some fat guys playing it? Absolutely. John Kruk played baseball. That was an athletic movement, swinging that bat. But John Kruk, we know, was not the most, good-looking athlete we've ever seen. But at least it's all athletic movements. When it comes to race car driving and driving motorcycles and all of that, great sports, I respect them, but those are not athletes. Here's another one. If a female can compete at the highest level against men, they're not athletes. Okay. If I went on a WNBA court, I'm getting cooked, right? But if a WNBA player plays against an NBA player, she's going to get cooked because it's an athletic difference. So at the highest level, if women and men can compete on the same level, they're not athletes. If you are 40 or more years old and you can consistently compete, not just 1 year or 2 years, if you can consistently compete at 45 or higher at the highest level, they're not athletes.
So let me ask you this. You think right now, if me and you get together in we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna film this shit and make a show of it. You think me and you could get in a NASCAR and just let's say we do 100-mile race,
right?
You think we could do that shit
and compete against them?
No. Just a 100-mile race.
100-mile race. So, and let's say it's at Indy. That's 2 miles, right? So we doing 50 laps. Could I do it? Yeah, I could get around there. I ain't going 120 miles an hour, but I can get around there.
220.
220, right? I don't know.
What I'm saying though. So you don't think you got to be an athlete to do that shit?
No, I think you have to be in great shape and you have to be greatly skilled and be great at your craft of balance. Your core is always getting engaged because you got to keep yourself upright. I get all of that, but they are not athletes. Athleticism, quickness, balance, ambidextrous, being able to move laterally with explosion off the ground. They don't have to do any of that. They just have to click these. Those are their shifters. They got to push their foot down and they got to turn and keep that thing straight. As a fighter jet pilot has to do with great technique, but that's not athleticism.
I don't know, dog, because there's a lot of that's a good point too. Jockeys on a horse,
not athletes.
Ooh,
no sir. That's
a good ass conversation. I'm gonna have this conversation with some folks, dog. It's an interesting one. I haven't really thought of it too deep, but that's an interesting one.
Yes. Not athlete. Yeah, we got to do a whole nother one.
I don't think you can be in a NASCAR or on a horse or in a flight in an airplane and not have some semblance of the it factor though.
You have to be in shape and you got to know what the hell you're doing. And like I said, you got to be mentally tough. You got to have the ability to concentrate over a long period of time. That's really hard to do.